So you may think I've been slacking, but I haven't. I'm coming around to the Enticer for you Enticer lovers. Right now I'm just trying to figure out exactly how everything fits, and you know what, this is tricky. So I'm going to use the 1.5-inch track that I had on my Elan, my 540 Elan, because we have new plans for that. And I need to figure out what size of driver I can run in here, how much room I have at the top of that track. That little thing is going to bother me. Right now, you know, right now I could go with, I'm pretty sure. I might even be able to go with this driver. This axle. What's this axle out of? This is out of your phaser. It's too bad Skidoo and Yamaha and all these guys didn't use the same splines and all that goodness. Make my life a lot easier doing these mods. Oh well. Let's see. No, I'm not going to be able to use that. Would be close. Damn. It'd be nice to have that speed. We have, that's a 1-speed transmission. Yeah, it just has reverse. Let me see. I'll show you guys what I'm thinking here. Where's that block of wood? To keep that up. If you come in here and look at this. If you come in here and look at this, I've more or less pushed the tunnel, pushed this track up against the tunnel with this driver set up here. And it'll be rubbing on the tunnel. So I can't use that driver, can't use that axle, because I'm using a chain case out of a Scandic. So I know what I got to do. All right. Now this is the axle out of my 540 Elan. It's not going to fit in that Scandic chain case, but I do have one that is going to work. So we're going to have to press these drivers off, press them onto another shaft. Then we can get things sort of mocked up for the chain case. That's the important thing. I got to get the chain case in, then I got to figure out the pulley distance. It's 10.5 inches on the 540 VK. So I have to line the pulley. So basically I got to get the motor and the chain case in, then we're good to go. Lots of iron in this old Enticer. Holy moly. So you can see where that shaft is going to be. I do have quite a bit of room to play in here. I'm going to trim out down here a little bit more. I can put this in. So a whole day has passed since we started this video on this here yesterday, trying to get that motor mounted, and it was a real mind game. So we had to pull everything out. We tried a whole bunch of different options. We were running into issues with clearance with the pipe on the one side and then clutch this far. Oh, it was just crazy. So we tested jack shaft, crossover shafts, different types of clutches, a couple of different motors we had. And we still came back to the 540 motor with the Scandic chain case. It's a wider chain case. The actual lever to change it from reverse to forward is probably going to go right about here. It's going to be pretty funny. But I roughly put some motor mounts in here. Welder was acting up, had to go to flux core, just a nightmare. Anyway, got it in, looks pretty bad, but the motor's in, and that's a good thing. Now the next thing, I'm going to put these bigger drivers on it, same size as the SRV, so it's going to have not the same top speed because it's a lower gearing in the Scandic case, but if I went with a really small driver, the thing would just be whining all day and it'd be just right to the handlebars and you'd barely be moving. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to show you what I did with the motor mounts, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put these in. Now you can see this big driver here. I know how much, I've got about 1.5 inches track that's going on this. Actually, I think it's about 1.25 inches. So I'm going to use this driver. I can more or less see from this side where I'm going to put it in. It's going to tell me how far I have to drop my case down. I mean, I can put this here, as long as I got 1.5 inches on the narrowest spot. I mean, that's it right there. So anywhere in here, you know, I'll give myself 2 inches. That's going to be just fine. I know where the chain case has to sit. I need 10.5 inches between my pulleys. That's just the standard setup with the SRV or the VK540. So all I really need to do is I'm going to loosely mount that chain case, probably just put 1 bolt in it, leave it right there, and then press on some drivers, fit the track in. I use the old Yamaha part of the plate, put a spacer in there, mounted it up. I can still move this motor, clock it, set it up, put one of the mounts in the front, a little rough, gonna have to clean it up. Then I'll run another mount off here, probably to this plate, and angle it up. But I still have to be able to clock it the way I want it. All right, I've got that chain case in. I'm gonna try to figure out how that shaft will fit in. It's pretty cool, this old Scandic case. It has this lower bearing. The shaft is off a Tundra. It doesn't actually lock in. It's more or less a compression fit, and the bearing retainer on the far side of the tunnel holds everything into place. Once I get this chain case in, figure out where I have to clock it to, then I can figure out, oops. Once I get this chain case in, I can clock it, mount it in correctly, then I can drill my hole on the far side to put my cup in. There we go. Now when I say center to center, I mean center of this shaft, the upper pulley or the secondary, and the center of the primary clutch. Luckily this chain case has a little bit of ability to be adjusted. Some don't. They're just fixed in place. Let me see. 10.5. Now I'll pop all that off, mount the other parts of the chain case, make this part nice and solid, put the shaft in, figure out where I need to cut it on the far side. It's a lot of back and forth kind of stuff, as you can see. Not very easy when you're only one guy. But that's how I started out. That's how I'll probably go down. Now luckily I've got this little drill. I can go in through this side, just barely enough room. Kind of hard to figure out where that hole is on the other side without doing a whole bunch of measurements. Oh, here we go. I'll just put a pilot hole in and I'll come back and I'll redo it. Go. Now, there are 4 mounting holes on that chain case. One of them is actually up here, so I'm gonna have to just weld a bolt on here and it'll just go right through. Easy. There's some nice little carriage bolts that came with the Scandic in the first place. I'm gonna use those. I might tack them in with a weld. I'm just gonna see. Not quite sure. This reinforcing plate here came with the chain case. Might just do the trick. So between this and one more of those. I need to turn this over and I need to figure out where my axle goes. I'm just going to measure it a couple different places. Mainly on this side, because this is where it's coming out. And a quarter. This side of the shaft is a little lower because the chain case is on a bit of a slant, just because of the way it's in there right now. I got to grind out some of this backside here. I can do that. So I just took an old bearing, put it on the end of the shaft, stuck it in there, and I'm going to use it as a template because, you know, when I grind that out, that's where my bearing cup is going to go. That's a bearing cup. So it's just going to come in through the tunnel and hold it in place. It's pretty easy actually. So I'll just make some measurements. Then we're good. And almost a quarter. Now you can see this is the bearing cup. I just used it as a template from the back side, but it's going to be coming through this way and holding that bearing. Now I have no exact idea where these are going to go, these drivers, so I'm just going to put the track in, run the shaft through it, and then measure it up. Basically align the drivers in the little inner nubs of the track here. I apologize, you know, that you guys can't see all this. That's just kind of the way it is at this point. And I'll try to show you as much as I can. There you go. I'll go cup in. So I can take this, I can put this down like that, and the drivers will sit in there. Now, I don't have as I don't have as much clearance as I thought. I probably have about 1/8 of an inch. But you know what? I don't have tunnel cooler in here, and the track spins freely. It doesn't touch anything, so that's okay by me. So I'm just going to put the shaft in that holds the axle, and I'm going to put the cup in this end, tighten all that up, and that's going to end today's video, man. There's a lot of work gone into this. 2 full days to do this. Anyway, that's the way it is. So let's get it done. You're going to want to get in there, you oh, snap.
You to come, I'll make it impossible.